Let's get ready to rumble!
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another interview edition here on the Electric Circus Radio Show at MetalMessiahRadio.com. We are your metal music messiah. Tonight, I got a special guest with me on the line. We have Thiago Oliveira. Welcome to the Electric Circus Radio Show here at MetalMessiahRadio.com. How are you doing, Thiago?
I'm great, thank you, Joker. It's all good here.
So, please tell us how it all got started for your band, Scars.
Well, that was way back. It goes way back in the 90s. I actually only joined very recently. So there was the first EP, which was called The Ultimate Encore, and that was in '93, I think. And then the band stopped for some reasons, especially personal reasons. And then came the first album, which was called The Nether Hell, and then the band stopped again. And there was the other album called The Devil God Alliance, and then everybody stayed like under the radar for like some years, and then there was some Facebook following which began like asking for the band to return, and then that happened 2 years ago. I got asked to join. I mean, at that point I wasn't in the band still, so what happened is that I just had released a record with Warren Dane from Nevermore. He just passed away, and the guys in the band heard it. So I got asked last year, but I wasn't very sure what to think about it because I didn't know the band. And then I got asked to cover it for them for like 2 shows, and they went very well. The energy and the chemistry, the songwriting, I was very impressed. And then when it came time for recording this record, I just knew that they were very good, proficient musicians, great songwriting, and they just asked me again, and then I said yes because I was very happy the way things turned out last year. So I was just joined very recently, and then I think it's the first record in 10 or 12 years, so it's something of a homecoming, something of a return. So after many years gone, so that's kind of summarizes it, I think.
So who are all the members of the band, Scars?
So it's Regis, the lead singer, like Regis Frederico, Alex, the rhythm guitar player, he's like responsible for most riffs, Marcelo Michem is the bass player, and João Gobo, drummer. So that's the 5 of us. And me, Thiago, lead guitar, I think.
Is there any significant meaning behind the band name Scars? What is the meaning of that name?
I'm not sure. I think it's been such a long time ago since the name got picked. And I think it was maybe because of the name, of the sound of it. Like in Brazil, not everybody's very proficient in English, so I think the sound of it was very cool, and they just found out the meaning, and that was basically it. There's not a big secret or any big meaning. It's just something that sounds very powerful, and that's basically that's the thing.
Diego, how did you guys get signed with Brutal Records? What is it about that label that made you guys want to be signed with them? What are some of the things that you guys love about their the label they have?
I think basically what drew us most is that we heard very good things about them from other bands who were signed onto them. So I think it was Hellgarden. And there was Valvera, they're all local Brazilian bands, and they said that they always kept true to their word on the deals and stuff. I think Mike Howard, the guy who's doing A&R, he's got some connections over here in Brazil. He's heard about Scars before. And there's a global distribution with Sony Music. I mean, Bruno Records, one of theirs, alongside Century Media, is one of those smaller labels that got bought on by Sony. So even if it's an underground thing with a metal attitude, it gets a very big distribution worldwide. So it's something it's great for any band, you know. We got signed on especially because Alex, the other guitar player, he got. I mean, he's heard about Brutal Records, and he went on to speak with Mike, and they got along, and they spoke a lot. They had a good conversation, and he heard the record, which he liked. I mean, he knew the previous ones, he knew the singles, Armageddon and Silent Force, which were very good, and he liked them. So he said, look, as soon as you have something else from the new record, I want to hear it and see if there's something we can do with you guys. And he heard the songs, and he wants the songs in Predatory. He liked them, and that was basically it. It wasn't such a big thing. They just liked it, and it was pretty straightforward. And he just sent us the contract, and we thought it was fair, so we just signed it.
The new Scars offering Predatory was released July the 8th, 2020. Please tell us about the album, the process on developing the songs, and who plays what, and what is it about the album, your favorite songs on the album?
Well, I think my favorite song is probably Violent Show, the closing one. There's two bonus tracks, Armageddon and Silent Force, they're very good songs, but they were already being released, so they're bonus tracks, but I think they're pretty great. What happens, like, before I joined the band, everybody was in pre-production. Alex was coming up with the songs, and they began rehearsing, even without me. I wasn't in the band when they began rehearsing, and it was a pretty involved process. And what happened is I joined in when they were tracking the drums, I think. So I just began getting the songs. I would only listen to the full thing when they were finished with vocals and everything. And many things were finished when like the last minute thing, like the intro to Predatory. What I did play were the leads throughout the record, and there's one song which I wrote, which is an instrumental thing, which is called the Unsung Requiem. And that was because there was a song called Ghostly Shadows. The guys asked me to do something like a cappella type of eruption guitar solo. Mm-hmm. And I was not very keen to do that. So they just asked me for that, and I was just thinking, well, I can do something else and do a more structured thing. And then Regis asked me, hey, do you want to maybe do like an instrumental song? And I was like, hey, I was just thinking about that, and I just wrote the piece as like a big guitar orchestra. But apart from that, I just came in as a soloist. I didn't write. I mean, it was the first time on the record that I just would think about just solos, because every other circumstance I would be very involved with the songwriting and arranging and playing keyboards and doing all sorts of things. On the other bands I did with especially with the last record I did with War Ordained. So this time I was just focusing on doing leads, and that was it. It was very very focused on that.
What are some of the lyrics and themes and topics on this new album by Scars, Predatory?
Well, I think it's basically dealing with the way human beings interact with nature. Well, I think you probably remember on the movie The Matrix when Agent Smith says, look, human beings are like a virus and you're destroying everything. And I think it kind of makes sense, you know, especially since that's where the main theme from Predatory comes from, you know, like you're destroying the nature. Human is the biggest predator. So that's the thing, the main thing on the title track. There's some other things it's been dealing with, like religion on the 72 Faces of God, and society in general in Violent Show. there are several themes, and mostly dealing with the way things are nowadays, you know. So, but the strong message is probably predatory on the ecological theme, you know. And there's also a song about serial killers and the willingness to kill on My Bloody Days. I think those songs kind of like they stand out more on a lyrical standpoint, I think.
Who did the cover art on the new album, Predatory by Scars?
Oh, there's this artist called Luis Dorado. He's very proficient. He's done like several covers for several bands. The band was already talking to him once when I came in, so they were deciding about doing something like doing the Earth and some prophets, like looking down and seeing what humanity was doing. So he's a very proficient guy. He's very talented and very well, very respected artist over here in Brazil. Luis Dorado. You should look him up. You know.
Who produced the album Predatory? Is it self-produced?
Well, I think the basic pre-production Alex did it himself, and the rest of it was by Wagner Mourinho. He's done some work with Torture Squad. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Great band. He's also done with Warrell Dane. I worked with him before. He was pretty good producer. And a bunch of other bands. And he's always a very consistent guy. He's very much into more modern metal production, like on the Andy Sneap side of things. But I think it kind of works great for old school thrash metal. So yeah, he was a good fit.
Diego, you guys have a video on YouTube for Predatory. Please tell us about it, the video, and who produced it, and the location of that video where it was filmed and recorded.
Oh yeah, that was in a studio in Osasco, which is a city which is just outside of Sao Paulo. Because Sao Paulo is so big and all the cities are very jammed in together, just like New York and LA, where like Jersey, everything's very, very bonded. So we had this very small studio which set up that, and we did have two people doing the basic video. One, Daniela, which is a girl who she did all the shooting with the lights and stuff, and then we had the post production. It was another girl, I forgot her name. It's terrible. And she's a very accomplished artist, and I was very in awe because she kind of brought in some. She's got lots of character in her work, and she brought in that into the video, and we did a very simple shoot, and the post-production took it to another level. So I was very in awe of that. I was very impressed when I saw the final product.
Okay, Thiago, let's play a new track from the newest offering by Scars. It's the title track, Predatory. What can you tell us about the song?
Well, that's the one with the big lyrics, the big idea, the big concept behind the album. It tells about nature and how man is just acting like a big predator and destroying everyone, destroying everything, killing everything in its path. On my side, I could say that in the beginning I do some weird noises, just like a metal version of Tom Morello doing like all those weird guitar noises. You guys asked me to do that, and then there's a big solo full of crazy parts. I really liked it, but it's not easy to play.
Okay, everyone, we will be right back with Thiago of Brazilian thrasher Scars. Here is the title track from the brand new Scars offering. Here is Predatory. Crank it up. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, here's Thiago from Thrash-Metal band Scars from Brazil, and you're listening to J0KeR's Electric Circus on Metal Messiah Radio.
with Thiago Oliveira, guitarist, Brazilian thrasher Scars. So, Thiago, please tell us what makes the album, the new offering, different than previous offerings by Scars.
I think every time you release something, it's like you're doing a different standpoint from whatever you've done before. Especially since you mature, you add things to the music. You know, it's and every time the lineup changes, everyone comes in with a different influence, a different musical personality. So it's always there's always something else on the table, you know. I think this time most of the songs there's more mid-tempo songs, especially since the band returned and when we did Silent Force, which is like a more mid-tempo thrash metal song, and people really enjoyed it, especially because the older songs they were like fast thrash Slayer type thrash metal. But this time there was like more mid-tempo songs, and so that kind of gave it like a different twist, and many people liked it. So that was on the band's mind when they were songwriting. Especially Alex was very he wanted to do something else, like there's of course fast songs like Bloody Days and Violent Show and Predatory, but this time there's more dynamic. There's more things happening with like more mid-tempo songs. I think that's basically what sums it up. You know, there's more attention to groove and detail and more intricate arrangements and like mellower songs. I think like mid-tempo thrash metal songs. And there's like this other song called "The 72 Faces of God," and that's kind of like it's more almost like a rock song, like more like a mid-tempo rock song. So it gives it like a different edge, you know. So it doesn't sound like typical thrash metal all the time. So there's more variety, I think.
So let's go back to the early years of your youth when you first began. So how did you get started from the beginning? Who made you want to be a musician and a guitarist? Who are some of your influences you look up to and you were so in that made you want to say, yeah, music is what I want to do in life and I want to be in a band?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was 11 years old and Freddie Mercury died. And then on Brazilian TV, they showed a Queen concert. I think it was in 1981. And I just saw the band and the whole thing, the whole stadium, with all the energy. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. So I thought of becoming a drummer because I thought, oh, hitting things is fun. And I just saw Roger Taylor like bashing away all his drum kit and shit and stuff. And because I couldn't sing like Freddie and no one can. So I wanted to be a drummer, and my mom just gave me an acoustic guitar instead because she didn't want me to play the drums. And then my family moved to Scotland. We went to Edinburgh, and I was just doing nothing, and I was just thinking, oh, well, maybe I can learn how to play the guitar, you know, because I was playing on a percussion ensemble, like a classical percussion ensemble in school, and then I began having like guitar lessons, like classical guitar lessons. And I began reading music and studying all that. And when I came back to Brazil, of course I was doing rock stuff as well, but I was very serious with my practicing and stuff. So I began playing in local bands, and I wasn't living in Sao Paulo yet, so I was living in a very small town. And I began like teaching and playing professionally then. And then I moved to another city so I could get my degree, my bachelor's degree. And then I moved to Sao Paulo to get my master's degree in classical guitar. But things began shifting because I wasn't getting much work as a classical guitar player. And I could play rock, I could play classical, flamenco, jazz, and all sorts of different music. And I began playing on musicals. I was in 2011, I played on the Brazilian version of Evita.
Wow.
And then I played banjo in Cabaret. And then some years later, I began playing with some other bands. We toured Europe. And then I landed a gig with Royal Dane. And we did a record called Shadow Work. It was released by Century Media 2 years ago. And I also began playing with this drummer called Ricardo Confessori. He has this band called Shaman, and he also played in Angra, which is a big power metal band in Brazil. And so we're doing like this show on which we play his stuff from both his years in these bands. And then came after Warren Dane died, I came the invitation to join Scars, and here I am, because I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be in a band, I wanted to play thrash metal, and I wanted to do that with a competent band. So here I am.
All right. Thiago, please tell us about your gear. This is Gear Talk. Companies that make the gear you use, like what's the brand of the instruments you use, and please tell us about any Pro Tools you like using in recording.
Yeah, sure. Nowadays, I'm a solar guitar artist. I'm with the Solar Guitars. This company is being funded by Olo England, who's a big YouTuber. He's a guitarist for The Haunted, and I've been using them for 2 years. I got one 7-string guitar, an E 2.7, I think the name of it is. I've been using Labella strings for 6 years. I'm also on their website. I'm also endorsed by them. Great strings, amazing. I played with their booth on NAMM 2019. It was a very good experience. The guys in the brand, they're great, and I've been with them for like 6 years, I think now. So it's been a very good partnership. I'm also using Spectraflex cables, and they're very good. Dave Russell's a great guy, and they're very resistant cables. They seem like they're unbreakables or something. On amplifiers, my brother's building me an amp, so I'm not saying much about it because we haven't decided some details and specifications, but it's gonna be an awesome product. And he's very good he's doing lots of replicas of old vintage stuff, but he's doing sorts of improvements, and because he's got a PhD on electrical engineering, so he's very, very good, very consistent. So I mean, it's gonna be out maybe at the end of the year. He's doing a big head, so that's what I'm gonna use for amplification. There's that, and there's lots of pedals I use. I have some weird stuff I like I've got 2 pitch shifters. One is a Boss, a harmonist, and one pedal. So that kind of gives me my weirdness, stuff I really like doing, and that's also using like Boss Super Overdrive and Mower Ocean Machine. It's a big delay with lots of weird sounds, and I think that's basically it. Like, of course, I use a wah-wah and all that, but that's like the basic stuff is that's the things I'm using. I'm also using picks done by RAV5 Picks. They're a local brand, very good guys. Every time I do like a student audition, he gives me some picks, and I've been using his models for 5 years, I think. And I also been using plugins by Mercurio Audio. I think they're from Russia, and it sent me some stuff, and I was pretty impressed. So some of it's on Predatory, I think.
Please tell us about the metal scene coming up in Brazil and some of the bands that you guys have shared the stage with before, like in music festivals and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's some very good bands around here. I mean, I've only shared a couple of bands, but I can't remember much. It's been a long time. But there's, like, over here in Sao Paulo, there's lots of amazing bands. And all over the country, you've got great stuff coming out in all sorts of genres. I mean, you get great power metal bands, great thrash, death, black metal, prog metal. I mean, you get stuff which is very consistent all over the spectrum. And every genre, I think there is one good Brazilian band doing it. For thrash metal, of course, there's Choruses, which is amazing guys, great band. There's like one of the best live shows you can ever watch. They're very incredible. There's Torture Squad, which are great friends. Also know those guys. They're a very tight band on stage. I saw them a few times last year, and I was very impressed. They played Rock in Rio as well. So did
Oh, nice.
Courses. I mean, they're very, very good, very tight. There's some friends of mine who are in a local band called Furia Inc. They're very sound like groove metal like type of thing. They sound a bit like Pantera. They're very, very good arrangements, very talented guys, great band. Venomous, another like mellow death band. They mix their style of Brazilian music. There's also this band called Cry Hour. They used to be a creator cover band. Nowadays they sound like In Flames and At the Gates in the beginning of their career, like very
Wow.
melodic death metal. I saw them once. They're very young and very precise players. I was very impressed by them. There is a band from my home city called Aneurose. I think they're an incredible live band. They're very intense and very raw. The singer's got lots of attitude, and they're very, very precise, very technical, very, very tight. And they play this thrash metal, like more on the vein of Shadow Falls and stuff, like more like modern stuff. So there's so many bands. I'm only quoting just a few I can remember of, but there's a very big wealth of good Brazilian bands, and
Absolutely.
I've toured the U.S. and Europe, and I can see that over here we have a great many talents, but they don't get the recognition that many of them deserve. So it's kind of sad, you know. But you don't have any shortage of talent over here, you know.
Yeah, every day I'm always hearing about a new thrash metal or metal band from Brazil. I think there's a lot of great talent out there in Brazil, and we love playing and interviewing and promoting the Brazilian metal bands here on the Electric Circus Radio Show at Metal Messiah Radio. Diego, what's next for Scars? What does the future you think holds for the band? Are there any plans to release new
No,
music more frequently in the future? How many songs are stored away?
no, I just sent the guys 3 songs, and they're very different from what they've done before. One of them sounds more like melodic, like Arch Enemy. One of them sounds more like progressive thrash metal, like really forbidden and more technical. And another one sounds more like a death metal, hardcore crossover. It's only for me, but the guys have been writing stuff all around, and there's probably going to be a record next year. But it's a kind of a sad situation because we just released a record that I'm so proud of,
Mhm.
and then came the pandemic, and we haven't been doing any shows, and it's kind of bums me out. But we're just right now recording some sessions on a live studio, and we're just doing it that last night, and we're gonna do some more of that. And there's some online stuff that we're gonna do, like some live broadcasts and stuff. But there's nothing live happening right now over here. I think it's not gonna happen until next year. I think so. That's kind of fucked up situation. Not sure if you can
Exactly.
say
It
that in
is.
the air, but it's a kind of a bad situation that we can't really get around. And we had much stuff which was scheduled, and we just we're booking some shows for live streams right now because we just began rehearsing again, rehearsing the new stuff, the old stuff, and we have a new set list, but we're just probably gonna do some just online stuff so we can get it out, you know. And there's been a lot of live broadcasts over here, bands doing them on stage,
Yep.
on empty venues. I think I think it's around everywhere. The same
Yeah, they're
thing,
doing
right?
it a lot in social
So
media. They're doing the live remotes, live on Facebook. I think it's pretty cool. They can continue to entertain and let the world hear the music by
yeah,
the bands.
yeah, of course, it's a very sad situation. I know people who died and people got sick. So it's a way of keeping the hopes up, you know. So we're doing that, and we're preparing for that because most bands who were doing it, they were already on the road when pandemic hit. So we're on studio, and we just decided just to do that so we don't get, stuck doing nothing. So that's that, and then we're preparing new stuff, of course. And there's some some songs flying around, some demos here and there. It sent, as I told you, I sent some,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna probably write more. So I think we're gonna have a new record pretty soon, maybe next year. I was talking to Alex about that last night. So I mean, Future has new music coming out, which is gonna come out more often than in the past, I think.
Diego, what do you do to support yourself outside of being in the band Scars? Like family, like a job? Are you able to
Well,
make
my
a
job
living off
seems
music?
Well, I do. I am a professional musician, but most of the time I teach. I do online courses. I teach online. If you know anyone who wants a guitar lesson, just PM me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I mean, most of the time I'm just teaching. I mean, all some bands I play, they're not they're metal, but they do just gig regularly, so I do get paid, of course. Some bands pay me to do like recording sessions, and I'm also a music producer. Sometimes I make stuff, and right now I'm very involved in a movie soundtrack as well. There's this suspense movie which is set in an elevator. I'm just scoring it, so it's pretty intense work. So I'm basically already worked as a hired gun many times just for several situations, but most of the time I'm teaching. I'm getting started on an online course, which is gonna start soon. I think I'm just getting video editing right, and I'm just gonna start selling it online as well. So most of the time, it's just always something related to music. I never done anything else in my life. I never worked on it like most people have like a day job and stuff, but I never done any of that. Especially since I always supported myself with music. I've been teaching for I think 23 years.
Long time.
I began working with the age of 17. I started like teaching locally, and then I just realized I could live off it. I just could be a professional and also be a musician. But I also have to play lots of all sorts of music, which are not metal. But if I only played metal, maybe I couldn't do that. But as my career developed, I could do that. So it's living.
I think it's very cool. You're staying busy and creating more new music and staying busy.
Yeah, of course. I really like that. Now as I am very involved with the music, with the music soundtrack in this movie, it's funny because I had to work with sim things, synths and loops and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
samples and all sorts of weird electronic music,
Mm-hmm.
which is something I really like as well. I really enjoy that. But it's something else. And also I'm gonna play some samba music, Brazilian samba music, which is I'm gonna play percussion. I never played percussion before, but that's a challenge I'm willing to take. I just told the director, look, I'm gonna do this the right way. I want to do like some live samba beats and stuff, and he was, you're crazy, and I was just like, no man, I want to do it.
Right.
And also there's orchestral scoring I'm doing with all the samples and stuff. It's sounding beautiful. I'm really proud of this movie. It's gonna be awesome, and people are gonna be on the edge of their seats when they watch it. Well, and there's some big Brazilian actors in it, so
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Diego, please discuss with us how you guys interact with the fans in social media, like on Facebook, and what have the responses been like since you guys released Predatory?
Well, man, it's been pretty overwhelming because I didn't know what to expect. I've released records with other bands, and some fans are very critical, and fans are kind of cool. Some of them on some other bands, some projects, some fans are very much into bitching on social media. But with Scars, guys, the fans are very passionate. I wasn't expecting any of it. There's lots of passion, and they don't complain or try to discuss anything or just act as if they don't know. They're very direct, they're very passionate, and they're very supportive. and I wasn't expecting any of that. You know, there's this guy. He just spent like lots of money, like making like. We don't have any merch yet because we're still like figuring out stuff, and the guy just had some T-shirts made by another guy who painted them by hand.
Wow.
That's how passionate they are. Some guys tattooed, you know, tattoos with the Scars logo, and I wasn't really sure what to think because I was very used to playing in bands with like bigger names, and I was getting, you know, sidetracked and compared to other guitar players who came before me, you know. I had to deal with all sorts of comparisons, and even though Scars is more of like an underground thrash metal band, I never had to deal with any of that bullshit, you know. I remember like many years ago, I was doing the first tour with Vorodane, and everybody was like, "Oh, this guy is no Jeff Loomis." And I said, "Of course I'm not." But I had to play his parts live, and I had to prove myself. I never had to do any of that with Scars, you know. So it's a different situation, and I feel comfortable with it. I don't have to, you know, prove myself to anyone. I just have to be myself, play the stuff I want to play, and not care about it. And it's great. It's a great feeling.
Who are some of the legendary bands you dream of opening for and sharing a stage with? Who might they be?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought of that. Well, the band did open for Testament, you know, like on the 2000s. I'm not sure which year. I think it was 2007. Not sure. But of course, opening for Metallica would be great. Opening for a big stadium show with Iron Maiden and stuff. I think the bigger the better. You know, shows are. I think that story. I mean, I hate playing on empty places for no people. I like playing in smaller places with lots of people, but I don't know. I'm not sure which. I mean, there's lots of bands I would love to share the stage with, but I'd love to share a stage with Slayer, but they're gone. I just saw their last show over here in Sao Paulo. It was pretty emotional, you know. Of course, Slayer and Big Four, of course, Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, big ones. Testament's already been done by Scars, so screw that. I love Testament, but it's already been done. You know, there's so many bands. There's so many. I've opened it with some bigger shows before with another band called I played with called Seven Seal, but they were different types of bands. We played lots of prog metal bands, but in this case, I'm not sure. There's so many. There's some. I mean, of course, there's the big legendary thrash metal bands, but I don't know. Of course, I think the best thing wouldn't be opening for another band, but playing on an European festival. You know, I've been to Grass Pop once as a fan, and I saw so many amazing bands. And I think that maybe if I ever could do like a tour with European festivals, that'd be great, because you would be hanging out with everybody and just having a good time and seeing other shows. I think that would be the most awesome live situation, I think, maybe.
Thiago, what advice would you have to give to new and upcoming bands on the scene in Brazil?
In Brazil, kill yourself. No, just kidding. No, play some more. No, I wouldn't say that. But I would just say that trying to keep original, you know, because I see so many bands trying to sound old school. And if you want to sound old school, that's great if you like that. But it's been done before. You have to be awesome, like truly awesome. And I think I've seen some great bands doing old school stuff, like playing like they were in the 80s and stuff. And many of them do that with lots of passion, and they're very convincing. I just saw a friend of mine singing with a band which sounds like the wave of British heavy metal, and they were very good. But if you want to if you want to have an impact, you have to sound like yourself. And that's not easy, because sometimes you have to throw away whatever outside references, influences that you have, and just trying to sound like someone else. And you have to look inside of yourself and try to find out who you are. And that's kind of hard. And that's something you don't want to look at. Sometimes there's things in music you like and that you're ashamed of. But that's the type of thing that you should really be proud of, because that's you, and that's unique. And the more unique, the better.
Thiago, please tell us what kind of scars show would the fans and fans to be get when they, like some of them seeing you for the first time? What kind of scar show would they get?
What type of score show?
Yes.
Well, the score show is very energetic. There's there's lots of interplay between me and Regis, and there's lots of energy going on. And it's a show that never stops and never comes boring. It's lots of energy, lots of interplay with the audience. I like playing. When I play live, I like looking at people and see them reacting to that. Sometimes it's like I'm having a conversation. I really hate playing to people who are like apathetic, who are just acting like they're dead. And I really like making them move. Sometimes I'm playing live and I look at someone who's like crossing their arms. I look at them, hey you, move. So that's something I do sometimes. And it's a very dynamic show. We move a lot on stage, and we try to do that as precisely as we can. And I really like the energy.
In closing, please, Thiago, give shout-outs to the fans and fans to be. What would you like to say to them?
Well, people, I really am proud of Predatory. It's a great album. It's one of the best performances I ever had in my career. I'm really glad that you took time to write on social media and say how much you appreciate this album. And whoever who hasn't listened to it, just listen to it, because it's really a great, awesome work, and I'm really proud of it. And I hope you all like it. Thank you.
Thiago, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on the show with us here tonight, Joker's Electric Circus on Metal Messiah Radio. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule for doing this interview with us. Best of luck to you and the boys of Scars, and you can come back on the show more frequently when you got something new to promote. We would love to have you back.
Okay, that would be great. I think I will have something in the way. There's something in the way, but I can't wait. I have to finish it before I release it. But yeah, sure. I would love to come back. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Thiago Oliveira of Scars.